God, in some hands, is a dangerous thing. It's like a drug that consumes someone's entire life, convincing them that they've been chosen for some unknown higher purpose. Thus is the case with Maud, a pious nurse teetering on the edge of sanity. She believes she can speak to God personally and that he has commanded her to save the soul of her patient Amanda. But Maud's mental state is deteriorating, and she knows not what she does in the A24 produced horror drama Saint Maud. I'm Connor Eyzaguirre.
I'm Austin Johnson.
And this is Filmgazm. Happy Wednesday, and welcome to the 144th episode of the Filmgazm podcast, where we talk genre films, mostly horror. Today's episode welcomes back Austin Johnson to the flagship show. Thanks for being here today. It's been a minute.
Yeah, of course. Glad to always be here. This is the heart and soul of what we do, and it's rare to be here. But Saint Maud is a movie that you and I saw a trailer for 2 years ago now. Yeah. And we just knew we got to check this out. This is going to be a movie that will definitely cause some kind of conversation, as does most A24 horror movies with you and I.
This one definitely reminds me so much of our episode on Midsommar, because once again, we are at a severe disagreement.
Yes.
This elevated horror shit, which we'll get into. Saint Maud. Yeah. Saint Maud's a film I'd been waiting nearly 2 years to watch. Because of that, my expectations were, understandably, I think, high. And I felt like the film didn't live up to those expectations. I mean, I felt the trailer was ridiculously misleading, as are the trailers for all of these fucking movies.
Yeah, that's become the theme. And to just go ahead and kind of give a little history here with these particular movies, I think A24, the distributing company, is a good place to look because they have this kind of pool of movies. I would say in 2015, The Witch, directed by Mr. Eggers, the legend himself. And then I would say, 2017, It Comes at Night, 2018, Hereditary, First Reformed, the Midsommar, of course, The Lighthouse. These movies definitely have there's a vibe going on. There's an aesthetic going on that's very similar, and there's always a lot of trauma involved, and then this term comes about, elevated horror. It is very frustrating, and it's definitely Saint Maud, especially out of that group, is definitely a psychological drama more than anything, and it very much advertised itself to be this super terrifying, horrifying horror movie, and it's just not really what you get. I was a little bit let down at first. The first 10-20 minutes, I was like, oh, okay, this is what we're in for. And then I settled in, and I very much enjoyed it, especially towards the end. I thought the finale was fucking awesome. And a directorial debut from Rose Glass, who I just think has an eye, just like a lot of the other people that we're talking about with these elevated horror movies. What a silly term. This is not one for anybody, or for everybody. Sorry, Saint Maud. For anybody. I think you do. I think you do have to kind of have some kind of relatability to the religious aspect of it for it to work. Yeah. I also very much appreciate that it's like an hour and 20 minutes. It's just goes by real quick. And I liked that. I think it could have hurt itself by being too long, and they kind of got straight to the point towards the end.
I was very grateful for that, because I think that a lot of these films crest 2 hours, and they don't have to. And then I'm in it for, then my whole fucking evening's gone.
Yeah. Or in Midsommar's case, 3 hours, just stealing your whole day. Yeah.
What's weird? I think we saw that on the 4th of July as well.
Yeah, it did. It came out July 3rd.
That's so fucking
2019.
weird.
Yeah. That was that was a week before Once Upon a Time in Hollywood came out. So you and I were we saw a movie that we very much disagreed on, and then a week later we saw a movie that we were like, all right, there we go. Fantastic.
Early days. Ah. So before we get into the bulk of this episode, I do want to talk a bit about this emerging subgenre of elevated horror.
Yeah.
If you are a fan of Oscar Sunday, you may have listened to our Toy Story episode a couple weeks back where we had Caleb guest starring on it, and he talked a bit about elevated horror.
Yeah.
And
I think that was like the first time that we've just kind of talked about that. With the horror, Filmgazm, our horror podcast, being the one that's lasted the longest and been here the longest. We're approaching episode 150 rapidly.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me that it took Toy Story, Oscar Sunday, 1995, a Pixar film to kind of bring that up. But I'm not surprised that it took us three to kind of talk about it that way and kind of make fun of it.
Yeah, because Caleb is the biggest horror fan I've ever known personally, and he has always resented the fact that the Oscars have kind of spit on horror for most of its tenure, with the occasional exception. But this whole concept of elevated horror really seems like a way for critics to sidestep the fact that they enjoyed a horror movie.
For sure. Well, that's like the whole thing with people calling Silence of the Lambs a thriller, and it's like you want to steal that from the genre, the horror genre, like it has this stigma about it that only jump scare movies, and slashers are allowed to be just horror movies, and that's uber frustrating. It's one of the worst things about just how Hollywood just perceives movies in general. It's very, very, very frustrating.
Well, in my experience, also, elevated horror sucks all the joy and excitement out of horror and just leaves the harsh psychological darkness. Who wants to sit through that every time? The whole reason we watch films is to be entertained, and horror films go out of their way to show us wacky shit that we would never see anywhere else. And if we take that away and all we're left with is the nightmares, then where's the entertainment factor here? Like, who is this for? Is really like the big question.
Me.
Fine, fair enough.
Yeah. Well, that's something that I've had to swallow. Every movie I named, I really like. The movie we saw in theaters earlier this year, In the Earth. Mm-hmm. While I had my issues with it, I still have thought about it quite a bit, and there's something about that just kind of formulaic, like droning soundtrack, that's like totally stealing from David Lynch. I like that stuff. That's just kind of my alley. But I'm also in the same boat as you, where it's like, I don't want this every goddamn time.
Yes.
So I put things in between to kind of mix it up. But I do love going to especially in St. Maud's case, a very specific dark place, and kind of sinking into the couch and just being kind of stuck in a place for a little bit. This also, St. Maud, really fucking with, the body horror stuff. It really does some things that I thought were just not fun to watch, with the skin, the skin in the face.
Yeah, to an extent. All right, I'll admit St. Maud has some horror elements to it, mostly towards the end.
Yeah.
There were some moments that I was like, oh, okay. And don't get me wrong, I don't hate all of these movies. I loved Hereditary. I love The Witch.
Yeah.
I like the Lighthouse. But it is, a less is more approach is greater, is better. I like horror movies, but I do want some variety. I do not like, I feel like I have to kind of prepare for this every time now. Like, is this going to be one of these horror posers? And you brought up In the Earth. Another fucking misleading trailer that made me think this was going to be something different, but no, it was the same, just no horror till the last 5 minutes, weird message. Like, yeah, I can't stand this shit. I'm so tired of this. I was really hoping. This is like the 6th or 7th time I've fallen for this. I'm really starting to, it's a shame on me thing at this point. So
maybe let me watch them first, and I'll be like, nah, man, no, it's just an atmospheric movie.
I might, I might just pass the buck.
But at the same time, right when it ended, I texted you, "Holy fuck, I love this movie," and you were like, "Oh, I was underwhelmed."
Like take Halloween Kills, for example. That's coming out in a couple months. I know exactly what that's going to be. That is nothing misleading about that trailer. We all know.
No.
That's great. Same with Candyman.
Wouldn't that be funny if Halloween, if there was a kind of just atmospheric Michael Myers just, messing with the mind?
If Halloween Kills ends up being an elevated horror film, I'm going to go on a fucking killing spree.
Yeah. I'm going to be Halloween Kills. Yeah. Oh my God.
I'm going to summon Payman up in this bitch and he's going to fuck up some people.
All hail King Payman. Yeah. Oh my God.
You know what? I blame Hereditary for all of this.
Because, I blame Eggers and Astor. Yeah.
Yeah. Because Hereditary and The Witch were great. They were well told stories with the perfect blend of horror and drama that worked. But because they worked, literally every other movie wants to be them. So now we are getting just a constant stream of films that claim to be the next Hereditary, claim to be the next Witch, and they never fucking are. Like, even the directors couldn't do it. Like, Astor couldn't do it again. Eggers, I don't think, could do it again. So it's just interesting. I'm hoping that like Candyman or Halloween or something pushes horror back into the wacky side of things so we can get more of that shit.
Yeah, for sure. I think we saw when It came out, and It Too in Halloween in 2018. I think we did see that. Oh, okay. You can live in both worlds. It's okay. They're both going to be here. And I think we lost that because we lost the theater for a year.
Yeah.
We kind of lost that momentum where horror now, is in a strange place. I think like modern current horror, you're always going to find your stuff if you really want to search for it, through Shudder and different things. It's always going to be there. But when we're talking about these films that are going to be covered on Sneak Preview and Filmgazm and this and that, these big movies, it is nice to have that variety, to kind of have a buffet of different things where it's like, okay, I can be disappointed by Saint Maud, but next week I'm seeing It Chapter 2. That's a nice feeling to have, and it's good. I think eventually it is good. That is going to come back. I think horror will live again, through the theater and make big bucks. And I'm hoping Halloween Kills is that first blow.
Halloween Kills or Candyman. It's a good bet for either of those films, because right now the throne is empty and I don't like who's trying to fill it.
It's a very good way of putting it. I think the throne was taken for a time a few years ago, and now it's in a strange place. But the genre is so vast, and again, you if you really search for it, it's all there for you. It just, I understand the frustration with a movie like this that's advertised in the way it is, and on the poster, the poster is so cool and so terrifying, and it says, a religious experience, a mesmerizing horror masterpiece. It's just kind of like, wait, what? It's that is frustrating.
It's bullshit is what it is. Like, I honestly, I would be less upset if they would just advertise these films the way correctly and stop trying to pull in the horror fans who aren't going to care. Like,
yeah. That it's hard because I think they've got fans like me. They've got me no matter what. So what exactly are you guys doing? Are you trying to fool horror fans that are like, oh, here's the new horror movie that people are going to be talking about? That wasn't really horror. Like, what kind of reputation are you trying to build? Because I think there are some people, including myself, that are just going to see these movies anyway if they're built up, like you said, as psychological dramas. I would, I'll see all of them, and not just because of this run that these movies that A24 constantly is trying to produce and distribute and whatnot. It's all the other films too. It's Moonlight, and it's the Florida Project, and it's these different things. So I'm going to see these no matter what. You don't need to put that, like you said, poser fake horror label on it. I think you have made a name for yourself by being kind of a art house, cinema thing. So I don't know. It's weird.
And A24's dramas are very good. Like they have, they advertise correctly. They know exactly who their audience is. The films are fantastic. But for some reason with horror, they have to trick people. And I've yet to really figure out why. They don't need to do that anymore. I mean, at this point, we all know what it's going to look like. We all know what it's going to feel like. So just be honest with us.
Yeah. And that's definitely the name of the game. They've been around since 2013, and it's like this company has built a reputation for itself. Why lie? Why lie? You didn't lie about Uncut Gems. You didn't lie about mid-90s. The trailer was the movie that you literally gave us exactly what we were going to be seeing. So I get it. I totally get it. Fortunately for me, I like this stuff. So the trailers usually don't mean much to me. I'm kind of like, whatever, and you've heard me speak on Sneak Preview plenty about trailers. Sometimes I don't watch them on purpose. If it's a director or got actors that I like involved, I'm going to try to watch it anyway. Yeah. So I'll just let that happen. But with St. Maud's Case, I remember seeing the trailer. I remember talking to you about it, and it definitely was misleading.
Well, for those of you who are still a little unclear on the term elevated horror, I do have an article here from CBR.com that talks about elevated horror and some of the most popular films within that subgenre. So I thought we could kind of cycle through elevated horror's greatest hits, as it were.
I love it.
So this website defines elevated horror as movies that don't rely heavily on jump scares or gore, but are so emotionally and psychologically disturbing that they traumatize even the most seasoned of horror buffs. Many of the films also seem to contain allegorical meanings. The debate over this term centers on whether it's a valid new subgenre of horror or simply a loaded and pretentious term that lacks any legitimacy. If anything, possibly. If anything, the fact that the films associated with this subgenre have much more in common with each other than any other modern horror movie out there shows that although still an unofficial title, elevated horror movies do exist. And I like that distinction. These films are really incomparable to anything but one another. That's very interesting. There's this little bubble in horror right now. Like there's all these other horror movies, and then in here you've got your Midsummers and your St. Mauds and your It Comes at Nights and your Mothers, and they're all just kind of there lonely. They're the new kid on the playground that no one wants to play with. Yeah, and until they start being a little cool, no one's going to play with them. Ghostface and fucking Chucky are chasing each other over in the jungle gym, but St. Maud's just sitting there doing arts and crafts outside.
Yeah. Yeah. next to Joel Edgerton and Florence Pugh. Yeah. Oh, I love it.
So here's some of the most popular of this elevated horror subgenre. A lot of these films I think we've seen. First up, Midsommar or Midsommar, whatever you want to call it. I've gone back and forth depending on my thoughts of the film. Yeah. This was an early episode for the show, I think like 14 or 15, like early on. And it was the first time where we really were on opposite sides of this thing because I fucking hated it and you really liked it. And here we are again.
I still really dig that movie. Pretentious as hell and up its own ass basically the whole time. But I really, really like the performances in it. and the effects, the special effects in that movie are out of this world. With everything's kind of got a pulse to it. I really still love that stuff.
I'll give you points on production design, but as far as story goes, and I made this point in the episode. I remember that because I've made this point to anyone who will fucking listen to me since. It's The Wicker Man, straight up.
Yeah.
A vastly superior, actually scary 70s horror film starring Edward Woodward and Christopher Lee. Check that out if you haven't, guys, because that's a masterpiece. In fact, you might see that in the next few months on the show. Who knows?
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So I don't like that. Everyone was like, "Oh, how original, how creative," and I'm like, I saw this years ago.
Yeah, for
Stop
sure, and much tighter. The Wicker Man's like definitely one of the icons of the '70s. I'd say of that era of horror.
Yeah,
and it totally is stealing. It's like the exact same way. The amount of stuff it's stealing is like Joker with Taxi Driver. It's like, okay, we get it. You like that movie.
Speaking of, my uncle, who you all may have heard on our Escape from New York episode, he finally watched Joker and he fucking hated it for that exact reason, that it totally ripped off Taxi Driver and King of Comedy.
Yeah, it's a little bit frustrating, but I like Joker's all right. There's some aspects I really dig about it. I've seen so many movies that are just like, wait, what? you just copied. And Paul Thomas Anderson, my favorite director of all time, very much is very okay with not stealing, but definitely wearing his influences on his sleeve. It's very clear that he's an Altman fan when you watch his movies. It's like, oh, okay, all right. You definitely watched his movies growing up, and that's a big part of what you do. And I'm okay with that. But when it comes to, you're in the theater and you're thinking, oh my God, this is The Wicker Man, that sucks. That takes you away from what you're watching.
Yeah. I have no beef with a filmmaker who has, very obvious influences and wants to pay homage to stuff that they grew up.
Yeah.
My own work is, basically a blend of Once Upon a Time in the West and Blade. I'm well aware of that. But
yeah,
it's when you ignore that and try to pass this off as some creative epiphany. That's when I lose respect. Yeah.
That's where you pointed out Mother. I love Mother because it's so very obvious what it is right away.
Yeah.
Oh, we got that. Oh, there's Cain and Abel. Here they come. And
see,
there's literally a part with the rib being taken out, and Ed Harris's character is throwing up, and you're like, all right, I see what's going on here.
See, I didn't grow up with the Bible, so I didn't catch on to that till it was over. And I'm like, wait, was he God? And I had to do some Googling, and I'm like, oh, he was God. I didn't pick up on that at all because I grew up in an atheist household.
Yeah, I grew up in a Christian household, going to church every Sunday. I went to private school from kindergarten to my sophomore year when I dropped out, and these movies hit me hard. Anything that, even that stuff in Midsommar with how committed the people are to what they're doing is so scary to me, and just takes me to a place in my own head and my own experience that I like. Some people don't like to do that. They want to watch movies to be distracted. I usually they become, coping mechanisms where I'm like, oh man, that's really cool that Rose Glass sees that way, because so do I. I very much like that. And First Reformed is my favorite example of that in the past few years. It's one of my very favorite religious movies. Right up there with fucking Elmer Gantry, I just love it.
Nice. Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. You definitely have a refined appreciation for these kinds of films, and it's totally understandable why.
Yeah.
Next up on this list, we've got The Lodge.
Oh, yeah, The Lodge. Oh man, that's atmospheric as hell. Yeah.
This movie is one of the few that surprised me, that I was like, that is a smart twist. this was a very smart film that I didn't like at first, but the more I kept thinking about it, it's one of those films where I'm like, damn, like I saw it 2 years ago and I haven't really let it go.
Yeah, same.
It was, it's just, new stepmom, kids want to fuck with her in their ice cabin, make her think there's a ghost. She goes, reverts back to her cult mentality of, all shall bleed, and decides to sacrifice to her god. And the kids are like,
Crazy.
we were fucking with you. And she's like, oh, no, I know what's up here. Like, very interesting film. See, and the preview it was kind of misleading, but on purpose.
Yeah, it was misleading in the way the Hereditary trailer was misleading.
Yes, exactly.
Pretty smart.
I don't mind being
smart.
misled for a good reason.
Yeah, of course. You want to, like the classic M. Night Shyamalan. You do want there to be something that surprises you.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I had no idea this was going to happen.
But
when it's the entire genre that it's just lying about, that, because Hereditary is like a through and through horror movie. It's fucking frightening. Like from start to finish, it's got shit in it that's like totally jump scare. It flirts with everything, and that's why it's just kind of like a level above the rest. Yeah,
it's the kid on the playground who got to join one of the gangs.
Oh yeah, they're like, Tony Collette, you can come hang out. You're cool. Yeah.
Yeah, Hereditary. We'll obviously get to that. Really stands on its own with these films. The Lodge, I recommend. It's a oddball, very creative film.
Mm-hmm.
Us.
Oh boy.
I don't know if I would throw Us into elevated horror. I thought it was just a bad movie.
Yeah, I just thought it was pretty average. Some good performances. Of course, Lupita Nyong'o is totally mesmerizing, but the story is just, to me, so goddamn silly. I've watched it just twice, and I think I liked it less the second time, as far as just kind of like, okay, I caught a few things that were kind of cool about it, little things that kind of almost kind of connect with the Get Out, the Get Out world, and they're saying, oh, eventually they'll kind of intersect, but overall it's just silly as hell. And like my favorite moment is the Tim Heidecker and Elizabeth Moss moment, where they're at their house and shit just kind of hits the fan, and they're all fucking trying to kill each other. So that one is like, what are you trying to say? And so I understand it being kind of in this elevated kind of subgenre.
Episode 4 of the podcast. I can't believe that. The only one we ever recorded at your place.
Oh, that's right. That was, whoa, yeah.
I remember that.
How about that? Yeah, that's crazy. That would have been, let's see. Because when did we start this? In March of 2018? Is that right? 2019. Sorry. Yeah, a little over 2 years ago. Jesus. Yeah. It's crazy. So yeah, that would have been, in April or something of 2019, shortly after Willow was born.
I think actually, in terms of like the way that we like released these, that was your first appearance on this podcast. Because I did the first 3 alone. Yeah.
That's exactly right. And then Hereditary and Midsommar were the ones where we're like, all right, I'm gonna start being on this every time. How about that?
I personally give more credit to Jaws, but yeah.
That's a good point. I remember Hereditary was this kind of like we just had so much fun doing this, so we should just keep doing this. And then Jaws was the kind of like, all right, what are we doing? Let's keep doing these movies and spice it up.
I do want to just go ahead and point out real quick that one thing that's always consistent in these A24 elevated horror films are the performances. Those never fail.
Same with every A24 movie, right? It's like, oh wow, they're getting pretty cool actors and actresses to just be in these.
Yeah.
Whether it be, Willem Dafoe's he like continuously pops up in them, whether it's Florida Project, Lighthouse, or Mahershala Ali in Moonlight. Like, what the fuck, rest in peace, Anton Yelchin, The Green Room, awesome people. Tony Collette, one of the true horror legends now.
Yeah. And And again, this is a list of elevated horror films. They're not necessarily all by A24. They just are most associated with the concept.
The aesthetic. Yeah.
Next up, It Follows. Another one I don't know if I would throw into elevated horror. I think this one's pretty straight up horror.
Me too. I love It Follows. This movie's pretty kick-ass. Yeah.
Very creative idea. Just you can never get rid of it, and it's going to follow you everywhere. That's brilliant. I love the idea of a sexually transmitted ghost.
Yeah. And I think this movie does a good job of staying original while very much, being respectful to like the Cronenbergs, the people that really messed with this kind of stuff of like something chasing you this way that is just kind of ever so creepy. It's not just Michael Myers blah 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 chasing you. It's like something a little bit more, has a little bit more depth. Very fascinating.
I love how parts of that film are basically a Where's Waldo game where you're just trying to find in the background who is walking at a brisk pace towards the camera.
I love that. Yeah. David Robert Mitchell, he's only directed 2 movies now, and It Follows and Under the Silver Lake. And he could not have 2 polar opposite movies to start out with, which I love. I love that he has shown he can work within 2 different kind of genres. Under the Silver Lake is like a Big Lebowski hangout stoner type movie, and It Follows is a horror movie. I love that. I love that someone can do that, and I can't wait to see what he does next.
Yeah, straight up. It Follows is one that we haven't done on the show yet.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely got to be at the top of our list for the 2010s. It's good.
Oh yeah. Next up, one we've already brought up, Mother. One of the most upsetting of these elevated horror films. I think we all know why, if you've seen it. The only film, in my experience so far, that a baby is straight up eaten.
Yeah.
Fuck. But a very hard to follow, weird film if, again, like me, you're not, up and up on the JC. Because I'm not. I don't know the nitty gritty. I don't know the details.
JC was a Jew. Oh man, God.
It's Jennifer Lawrence and Javier Bardem are
fucking
good.
Darren Aronofsky, man, the fucking weirdo genius.
Yeah, I've got such mixed feelings about him as a filmmaker because I loved Requiem for a Dream, I enjoyed Black Swan, and I fucking hated Mother and Noah. So
Noah's shite. Yeah. Noah's straight garbage. I remember seeing Mother in theaters and just being kind of like, yeah, I'm really happy this is happening. I was with my friend, my buddy Grant, and he went to the same school that I did in middle school and high school, private school, and just was kind of raised in the similar environment that I was. And we looked at IMDb. we went to eat together before the movie, and we looked at IMDb, and we looked at kind of like we were like, oh man, like look how many awesome people are in this movie. And then I noticed, I was like, wait, so Mother is literally Jennifer Lawrence's name. Him is Javier Bardem's name. Man and woman are Ed Harris and Michelle Pfeiffer. Younger brother and older brother is Brian Gleason and Domhnall Gleeson. So I'm like, wait a minute. Is this just going to be like a straight up, movie about the beginning of time of creation and shit? And sure enough, it was. It's just like an allegory for like we were pointing out, Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel and all these different characters that are based on Bible characters. And what better book to steal from than the Bible for horror? Scariest book ever,
I'm honestly surprised it hasn't been done more. Yeah, Mother, not for me. Another one that I felt was very misleading. The trailer gave off a Rosemary's Baby vibe.
That's true.
And I'm mad at myself because I keep falling for it. Next up, Another film I don't think I would classify as elevated horror either. The Babadook.
Yeah, no, that's that does not fit with all these.
Honestly, one of the scariest movies I've seen from the 2010s. That movie is
Agreed.
chilling.
We haven't done that either.
I know. I haven't. Yeah, I don't know what happened. We never did the Babadook.
Well, think about how many movies we're just always, it's just endless. We'll never run out of movies to do, even if it's just horror.
Fucking Song of the South before we did the Babadook.
Yeah.
God damn it.
You guys did Peter Jackson, Bad Taste, before we did the Babadook.
God damn. Yeah, we've mea culpa. It'll happen.
Yeah.
I promise.
Yeah.
This movie's a brilliant allegory for depression. And it's just this woman and her son who are haunted by this top-headed nightmare creature called the Babadook. And it's so simple, but so effective and so just chilling. It's the way it's the phone calls for me, where it just calls her and just goes like Babadook. That shit gave me nightmares for weeks.
Yeah, same, man. And have you seen The Nightingale?
I have not.
That's also directed by Jennifer Kent. Holy fuck, man. Like,
I've heard things about that one. Yeah.
Fucking gnarly movie, and one I would love to cover on the show. The Babadook and It Follows are both from 2014, and that year is just loaded with all genres. So I would love to tackle both of those soon, man. They're both stellar movies. The Babadook is definitely in a different class than the rest of these.
I agree. And that's actually the list. But I do want to throw out some honorable mentions that I can't believe it's not going to talk about. The Witch. Robert Eggers, 2015 or 2016, I guess, depending on what country you're living in. A movie that the trailer alone gave me severe nightmares. There was something about that trailer. It felt way too real. It brought something primal into my head. I don't know what it was, but I didn't want to when it came on at Draft House when I was working, I would actively leave the theater while the trailer was going because I didn't want it to fuck with my head. And then the movie lived up to that, which I didn't expect. Like that movie delivered. It said, the trailer said this is a psychological nightmare in Puritan times, and that's what the movie was. Straight up. I love The Witch. That was one of our early episodes too.
Yeah, me too. The Witch is super, super good, super tight, nice and short, knows exactly what it wants to say and do, and has one of my favorite atmospheres for a horror movie is just kind of in the middle of the woods, like Blair Witch Project, but focused on one spot. I really, really, really like that kind of a movie that makes you settle in like that. There's like a exorcism in this movie. There's an evil goat. There's literal witches. There's babies disappearing. It's fucking bonkers. And all while Eggers did the same thing with The Lighthouse. He's so fucking committed to the language, the time and place, the setting that he wants to be in. I don't know of a guy who's in any genre right now who's more obsessed with making the setting so authentic. I think he topped himself with The Lighthouse. I think it's a slightly better movie than The Witch, but just barely. And I think part of that is the stuff that he wrote down for Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson to say is like he did a lot of research to make that work, make it actually sound right and be authentic. I love that stuff. And The Witch, they're both amazing. I think I gave The Lighthouse a 9. It could be a 10 though. Good God. And the same with The Witch, it's right there.
Yeah. And The Witch, it's one of those films where it could go either way. It could be just, a mass hysteria, or it could be actual paranormal forces at work. And the film kind of leaves it up to you. I like that from time to time. And then, of course, the last one I just want to talk about, again, it comes up all the time on all of our shows, Hereditary. It's kind of the godfather of elevated horror. And as good as it is at least partially responsible for the boom. It's a great movie. It's a great horror movie, great family drama, incredible character study, and a straight up nightmare from beginning to end. It's one of the most grounded and horrifying horror movies in decades. I wish that the rest of this kind of film had a little bit of Hereditary in them. Just a smidge, a drop. It would help.
Yeah. Yeah, man. What more can we say about it at this point? It's a perfect movie operating on like a $10 million budget, and it made $80 million at the theater. Just did super well. It was a word of mouth. You have to see this. You have to see this while it's in theaters. You have to see it. I remember telling everybody that would hear me out, was like, please make time to see Hereditary. It's special. It goes beyond what we see horror as. It breaks through that. There's movies that do that every so often, in my opinion, that are a part of a genre, but they break through so heavy that you just got to see it, no matter what, no matter who you are, no matter what you like. Like you've got to find time to watch Hereditary. It will stir you. It might not scare you. It freaked the shit out of me. I'll never forget seeing it. I'll never forget seeing it in theaters, and just the attention to detail again from someone like Astor is very, very cool. The setting of Utah is perfect, where they're just at this house that he fucks with the same way, The Shining fucks with the hotel, the format of it, the way that we think the house is laid out, it then changes and does different things. This is, to me, the best horror movie of the 2010s, and just one of the best movies, period. It's a must see. We could do an episode on this every month if we want to. It's that good. It's really that good. We're both on the same page with this one, where we do wish that every horror movie just had a bit of this in it, because there's something magical about it. Every performance inside of it, as I've watched it more and more, gets, Gabrielle Byrne's performance gets better. Alex Wolff's performance gets better. Millie Shapiro, good God, unbelievable stuff. Ann Dowd is the X factor of the movie. She comes in and just is like one of the scariest people I've seen in a long time in a movie. And that's because she's not this like nun, or, it's this lady who runs into her and then sees her at fucking Hobby Lobby and is like, come on over, let's do some seance shit. And that's so creepy. That's so goddamn creepy. I was just trying to get wallpaper, but now you're inviting the devil into my brain. Thanks. But that's my favorite shit about this genre, that it's allowed to do that. It's allowed to do those things, and Hereditary does those things over and over. Awesome movie. This is one where the 2 hours works. The 2 hours was needed for the full payoff. 100%. It's you can blame it for where we're at with horror a bit, but you could also just recognize its greatness and hope that movies can try to raise the bar.
Straight up. I agree that Hereditary is a straight up masterpiece, and we should just bask. And I wish the rest of these films had just an ounce of this film's integrity. But
yeah.
I feel like Hereditary is Coke, and we've got just a shit ton of RC colas after it. Like similar, but nowhere near as good.
Yeah, has the same kind of filter on it, on the lens, kind of grainy, 3:4 ratio, all this and that. But no, like, you're just not touching the story that is Hereditary, the story of Hereditary, and like you said, the integrity to be pretty fucking original. So cool. So cool.
Yeah. So there's elevated horror for you. It's, take whatever you want away from this. I see it as a straight up bullshit term to help critics sleep at night. And yeah, I think that a horror movie is a horror movie. And if it is, it is. If it isn't, it isn't. There's nothing, stop trying to disguise it. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah. Well, this is going to happen forever. This is like a huge issue with people and art. We have to label everything. We have to say, this is this is that, this is this. And by default, like you said, you're going to have especially with movies and like music for sure as well, you're going to have people that, okay, well, I liked this, but I don't like the box it's in.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to take it out without really any, just doing it off of will, I guess. Just like, oh, I'm going to do this. This is what it's going to become. And now we have this kind of, I would say 5-6 year journey of, okay, now people are actually saying this now. People are actually calling these movies elevated horror. And I'm right there with you. I think it's complete horse shit. I think it's very stupid to make that kind of a label, especially with that word. That word is so goddamn disrespectful to what horror has done. Meaning, Halloween can't go near these movies because it's not elevated. Like it's on the ground, like as if it's lower than. These are for. This is for narrow-minded, dumb people. Like, what? Do you realize the implications you're putting on these movies?
Yeah.
And not to mention the standard you're holding these movies to be elevated horror. That's not fair to Saint Maud. That's not fair to Hereditary. It's not fair to The Witch to be like, these movies are elevated. Therefore, if you don't like them, you have bad taste. Yeah. What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that?
That right there is my biggest problem with it. Is if you don't like these movies, you're wrong.
Yeah,
that's the horseshit I can't stand.
Yeah, it's total bonkers. Let the people who like weird shit, like me, just like it. And we'll handle what we have to handle with people being like, oh, that was up its own ass. Yeah, so are a lot of the movies I like. My favorite show is Twin Peaks. I like things that are up its own ass. Again, my favorite director is Paul Thomas Anderson, kind of up his own ass half his career. So I like this stuff. You don't need to tell me this is why you like it because it's elevated. No. I like the droning, again, formulaic type soundtrack. Let me have that. And let horror fans just say, this is a bad horror movie. This is a good horror movie. Point blank, period. Like, it's that simple. It's going to keep happening. It's going to keep happening with different genres or, where people don't want to just say, it's okay if it's in this box. It's allowed to be here. It's allowed to be here.
Yeah.
A comedy is allowed to be a comedy. It doesn't need to be, oh, well, this is actually more of a character study. Okay, cool. But Big Lebowski's a fucking comedy. It's okay. It's okay to like a movie that's a genre.
Yeah. Is Wes Anderson going to be labeled as elevated comedy now? Is Denis Villeneuve going to be elevated sci-fi? Is that where we are?
Exactly. That's the scary place of like, just let it be. Like, let it be. Let it be a Wes Anderson movie. Like, it's fine. It's not.
These fuckers, they can't admit, they can't just accept the fact that Hereditary and like The Toxic Avenger are in the same genre.
That's exactly right. And again, that's where the disrespect to horror fans comes from, where it's like, wait a minute. Now I can't like all of these things or dislike some of them and like some of them. Like that makes no sense as a fan. I should be able to take them as they come. One by one. I don't have to love every slasher movie. I don't have to love every elevated horror movie. I don't have to do that. I can just kind of pick and choose based on what I like.
Yeah. I can hate Saint Maud and Friday the 13th. It's, that's the American way.
Yeah. And you can also like both of them. It's okay.
All okay. You like what you like. You don't like what you don't like. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can still be friends and disagree with them. We do it all the time on all of our shows.
Yes, and we're able. You and I are able to totally disagree on Saint Maud, but understand that the perception and narrative that this is building is not good. It's not good for the horror community. It's not like healthy at all. You can read stuff on Letterboxd and IMDb. It's just people like arguing about what are y'all doing? Shouldn't we just like just kind of bask in the movie if you like it and then let it move on from it if you don't like it? Why are people arguing whether this is an elevated horror movie or not? Like, listen to yourself. It's crazy.
There used to be a time where if you didn't like a movie, you just said, "Oh, that sucked," and then you moved on.
Yeah.
And granted, I know I can smell the irony because I'm literally on a podcast explaining why I don't like this movie. But fuck that.
It's there is irony to it because we both are very open-minded and we're very okay with people liking certain things, disliking them, and we happen to have all these movie podcasts where usually people are going to be very headstrong and no, this is correct. I have to choose a side, and it just doesn't have to be that way.
No,
just doesn't have to.
It does not. In fact, it's far more freeing to just kind of in all aspects of your life, just pick and choose what makes sense to you.
Yeah.
Politics, movies, food, travel, anything. You don't have to subscribe to I like this and only this because that's what they tell me to do.
Yeah. It's an identity thing. It's like, well, but this is me. I'm supposed to be an elevated horror fan. No, you don't. No, you don't have to do that. You're allowed to like Halloween as well.
God, I can't believe people do this to themselves. They lock themselves in these boxes and then they feel miserable and they don't know why.
Yeah. It sucks. It's unfortunate.
Well, let's get into Saint Maud finally.
Yeah, no, this has been a lot of fun because I think this is definitely where my mind was all day, just kind of thinking about Saint Maud and how much I liked it and kind of combating that. Why did I like it? What did I connect with? And it wasn't at all the horror elements. It was the psychological stuff, the religious stuff that I really, really connected with, and I laughed at, and I just felt on a deep level. And those things aren't a part of the conversation we're having. I'm okay with liking these movies, but I'm also very okay with being kind of like, fuck the elevated horror movement.
Yeah. It goes right back to, you like what you like, you don't like what you don't like.
Yeah.
So Saint Maud debuted at the Toronto Film Festival in September 2019. It was supposed to have this movie's been kind of in limbo for quite some time. It was supposed to have a wide release in the US in April 2020, but the COVID pandemic wiped it off the calendar indefinitely. It got a theater release in October 2020 in the UK, as well as a subsequent DVD and Blu-ray release in February 2021. So for a time, this was a strictly British release. Why? I don't know. It was finally released in the US on VOD through Epix in February 2021 as well. You can stream it on Hulu as we speak. So yeah. I kind of just stumbled upon that. I had kind of forgotten about this one, and I was looking through Hulu, Saint Maud, and I'm like, holy shit, I remember that. So I threw it on the calendar and thought, this is going to be fun. And then I watched it, and I'm like, fuck, now I got to do stuff.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I say, whenever a movie's bad and it's for the show, I'm like, God damn it, now I have to put work in.
I can't just rave about what I loved. Yeah. But this is obviously a long time coming and very crazy to believe that Rose Glass, it's her debut, clearly has some stuff to say.
Yeah.
And has just a bunch of shorts to her name. And there's a gap from 2015 to 2019 where it seems like there's nothing that really comes out that's hers. And you got to wonder, what was it that caused her to go ahead and make this movie? She wrote and directed it. You got to wonder what happened in that gap.
Some kind of spiritual awakening, some kind of religious acceptance, something. Because this film feels very personal in many ways.
Yeah.
I feel like it didn't go as far as the trailer had promised in
No, not at
that
all.
religious awakening. Like, I thought Maud was going to become a straight up, like, save you or kill you kind of person. And she kind of was, but not until the end of the movie. And yeah, it's mostly just watching her be a nurse.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And watching her try to kind of like strategically put herself in a place, like with the Carol character when she's like, you need to leave. Like you're no good. She's wasting your time with you. It's like, what are you doing? It's like she's playing chess and everybody else is playing checkers.
Yeah. Speaking of, Welsh actress Morfydd Clark plays Maud. Clark has also appeared in such films as Crawl, The Personal History of David Copperfield, The Man Who Invented Christmas, Pride and Prejudice, and Zombies, and she's set to appear in Amazon's upcoming Lord of the Rings series. So she's hardly, new blood. she's been around for a while. She's been doing a lot of really cool stuff. And this is, I think, one of her first like leading roles. And she was the best thing about this movie. Like, her performance is fantastic.
Yeah, good Lord. She was incredible. Start to finish. I particularly thought the bit where she decides to go out, she wears kind of a revealing dress, was like astounding work from her. Like it's rare that you're just kind of just blown away by an individual like that you don't have a serious connection to. She tore me up in this movie. I thought that character was built for like a mini series. Like she carries herself in a way that going from, a desk to a bed, putting a fucking blanket, it's like she just has a way of just kind of gracing the screen and taking control of it. I very much fell in love with her as a performer during this movie. I can agree with that. I think she is the best part of the movie. I
particularly enjoyed her little fireside chats with God when she'd be like, I really thought you would have revealed that old plan right about now. Not that I'm complaining, but can we hurry that up? I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Like, so good.
Yeah.
So good. Or when she goes to that bench where the new nurse is, and she's just talking. She's like, do you mind if I sit down? The lady's like, go ahead. Just creepy as fuck. From our perspective, we're like, oh my God, what are you doing?
Well, then she asks, like, what's your name? And she immediately stands up like the Terminator and just beelines it.
Yeah. Okay. See you later.
Jennifer Ahle plays Amanda Cole, dying ballerina. Ahle has also appeared in such films as Zero Dark 30, The Professor and the Madman, 50 Shades of Grey, The Ides of March, The King's Speech, and the RoboCop remake. So another person who's just been kind of around.
Yeah.
And she was good. I was hoping for a bit more exploration into who she was and where this personality came from and why Maud is so attached to her. Like, I feel like there's a gap in the middle of this movie where Amanda's just gone, and I wish we'd gotten more character building with the relationship between the two of them.
Yeah, because the finale does feel a bit, I don't know if it's forced, but it's kind of like, okay, wait a minute,
tacked on.
Yeah, it does a bit. I do agree with you. This character was fascinating. Again, this American character is living like seaside over across the pond. What's going on there? Why does she remind me of Roy Scheider and all that jazz? Like, what's what's going on here? I really liked, chain smoking cigarettes, drinking all the time, like to have women around. Fascinating character. And the party scene was crazy, where it got kind of distorted, and Maud is running into all the bodies, and they all kind of look like they're fucking morphing and doing different things, and really weird and kind of creepy scene where, you're like, is she under the influence of drugs? What's going on? And then, that's when we have the slap, bam. And that's when we have them separate. And that is the worst thing to happen to the movie, is them separating, so that there can't be this constant buildup. But I understand it. as far as Maud's character leaves and still has this fire, that's inside of her, that she has to save this person from going to hell because she's about to die. And the fact that she's so committed that she'd go back home and find her way back, I do understand that. But again, the movie's like only an hour and 20 minutes and doesn't really allow you to build that whatever that is, that relationship that they have, which is just so bizarre. I thought Amanda was a extremely fascinating character that could have her own movie.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Roy Scheider and all that jazz, because I had just the red shoes going.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, 1948 classic for Oscar sure.
Sunday callback.
yeah, all that jazz. Also, Oscar Sunday callback. I was like, she definitely hangs out with Bob Fosse.
Oh boy. One more cast member I want to bring up. Lily Fraser plays Carol, Amanda's sort of girlfriend. She's been in a ton of English TV, and she also played Lisa the mechanic in The Gentleman, very briefly.
Mm-hmm.
Another character who I feel isn't thoroughly explored enough. I mean, she had Maud's first victim written all over her.
Yeah.
Like, I don't. Maybe I'm just conditioned to see these as a with a certain rhythm that horror just doesn't have anymore. I mean, that could be a part of it. Every horror movie from like the 30s to the fucking mid 2000s has this formula of like introduction, conflict, brutal murders, solution, question mark.
Yeah.
And elevated horror, whatever you want to call it, is screwing with that formula. So that, I think, is a major part of my own personal issues with these films.
That's totally fair. It's kind of, it's formulaic, but it's only lasted for 5-6 years, so it very much is still a baby.
The formula is to ignore the formula.
Yeah, is to subconsciously, we're gonna go against the current here, whether it works or not. And sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it does. Of course, you'll have those movies that kind of flip it upside down. But I think we can call back to one of the greatest horror movies of all time. I think The Shining does a really good job of staying within a formula, but also giving you like little tidbits of just weird, just kind of upside down weird shit. And that's the best. That's my favorite, is when it's a good, solid story, good movie that is kind of focused on itself, but also will give you those glimpses of what the fuck, just to kind of throw you off. I like that.
This is going to sound weird and a little confusing, but I hope y'all can follow me on this. I think the best horror films are predictable and unpredictable at the same time.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so exactly with Halloween 2018. Okay, yeah, we knew he was going to kill a lot of people. Okay, yeah. But there are like little things within the kills, or little things within the story that, I had no idea that's how that was going to go down. Yeah, I didn't know Jamie Lee Curtis's daughter was going to be like, "Fuck you, bitch," with a shotgun. I didn't know that was going to happen. Yeah. But I knew Michael was going to kill a lot of people, and there's going to be a showdown. I knew that was coming. It's just it's how we get there. And if the journey is good enough, then I don't fucking care. I'm going to watch it because it's fun.
With horror, you kind of, the destination, but you don't know the journey. And, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. I think you and I are very similar in what we love in horror, but the things we like little niche things that we like, is very different. I think you're going to be more prone to like Fright Night. You love that movie. I like it. It's really good. But that's your shit, that is totally your shit. That's 80s fucking, niche stuff. And I'm more on the side of, this crap, Saint Maud and Mother, and these are the things that I do enjoy a lot on a personal level.
Yeah, straight up. And I do think that, I think our respective upbringings is a big part of that.
Always. The way you are brought up to look at the world is going to affect the way you watch it and how you perceive it. I'm 26 now, but I'm still unlearning things that I was taught. I'm still unraveling them in my mind. Still, I always will be. That's never going to stop. It's not just my parents. This is the school I was in. It was the church that I was going to. It's other authoritative individuals telling me this is how it's going to be, and that's really scary to me now. The fact that I went through those things where there is an individual I had Bible class every day. There's an individual telling me this is how this is interpreted. This is what it means. Otherwise, you're going here, and movies definitely. And again, I'll always shout out First Reformed. I think it did such a good job of playing with that. What exactly does this mean to me? And Ethan Hawke's character is just constantly thinking like, man, is this a right path, or is it just a path? Crazy. So hard to really think about.
I've always liked the quote. I don't remember who said this. The best teachers are the ones who show you where to look, but they don't tell you what to see. And that's where I think we differ in our developments, because I've always had a kind of overarching disregard for authority. I've never liked being told what to do, and I've never gone with it. I've always kind of followed my own path, and movies were a big part of helping me define that path. Like I got a lot of moral lessons from Back to the Future.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like the whole concept of, you can, if you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything. One of my favorite movie quotes of all time. Like that movie quote helped me be a writer. So it helped me start a podcast. So movies were my Bible in a weird way.
Yeah. Oh man, I'll never be able to properly explain what it's like to, when I was, when I was really in the thick of kind of Christianity, and I was definitely a believer. I was very much living each day as if I was like one of Jesus's disciples. I was living each day as if that was all that mattered. I cut things out of my life, like movies and books and certain music. I just cut it out of my life because I thought, I don't want to put this on my throne. I want to put God on my throne. That was my thought process. And watching a movie when you're in that, during that year while I was living in Romania, I saw 2 movies. I saw James Bond, Skyfall, and I saw Here Comes the Boom with Kevin James, because I didn't know what to do with that passion, with the passion of watching movies. And then 2014 happened when I moved back. I moved back in like late 2013, and that year of 2014 was when I kind of just started kind of living for myself, being a little bit selfish, but for the right reasons. I was working on myself constantly. I was thinking about, what do I want to do with my time? And movies became my place. And I just spoke about on Oscar Sunday, that was the same year that Philip Seymour Hoffman and Robin Williams died. That year was just personally huge for me, and movies became that for me. I had to adopt it. You were born with it. You were molded by it. I was adopted in the dock. I very grateful for whatever was going on in my mind, that I decided to kind of use that as a coping mechanism and kind of a way to learn, a way to grow. And movies like, The Babadook and Grand Budapest Hotel, Nightcrawler, Gone Girl, Whiplash, Birdman, It Follows, all these 2014 movies, I have to give them so much credit because they just changed my life in that way, just majorly. And from then on, since then, I have, I obviously stopped, how I'm speaking, I stopped believing in, Christianity and that the whole bit, stopped believing in a specific creator. I don't know what's going on. I'm never going to claim. That was part of the deal when I moved back, was in my mind. I was like, I don't know what's happening. So I'm not going to claim to know or tell anybody else how to do things. That's just kind of how I've chosen to live for the past 7 years. And I still have issues. Even while watching Saint Maud, was like, what am I doing? Is this wrong? What would my 15-year-old self think of me enjoying this movie? It's a crazy kind of mindfuck type thing when you watch these religious movies that just take it there. Even Elmer Gantry has a huge effect on me, because it's not only is it my favorite Burt Lancaster performance, but it goes there. It takes it to a really dark and crazy place, and that always affects me. But me, I like being hit like by like a brick wall with movies. I like being kind of rattled and total attack on the senses. So I kind of seek that stuff out. But it's never going to end. That journey's never going to end, of kind of unlearning and stuff, and kind of figuring out how to just enjoy this for yourself, man. Have fun with it. There's no guilt applied to it.
That's powerful, man. I'm very glad you sort of found your way eventually, and I admire that you're always fighting that. Keep winning that fight.
I will. This stuff helps a lot. Just constantly being in the thick of watching movies and being on the podcast, and just realizing this is me. This is what I love. This is like who I am. I'm very much, oh, that's Austin, the movie guy, very much so, amongst like my family members and my friends, and that's what you are as well. So no wonder we got along.
Absolutely. Well, Saint Maud has an IMDb score of 6.7, Rotten Tomatoes score of 93%. Thanks to the pandemic, it was only able to gross about 1.4 million on an undisclosed budget. As I said before, you can currently stream it on Hulu. And all of these films are totally revered by critics, like all in like the 80s and above. But the viewer score is usually like, the fuck was that? This has like a 65 viewer score. So I'm not crazy here.
No, not at all. Not at all. Look on Letterboxd, man. You're not crazy at all. These movies definitely split people down the middle. It's like you either dig this or it's not for you.
Yeah, very true. So let's discuss some talking points. I don't have a lot. I was not taking a lot of notes with this one. I was kind of waiting for shit to happen before I could take notes.
Yeah,
and it took a while for that. So, the first like 45 minutes of this thing are Maud being a nurse to Amanda, talking to God, and kind of almost giving up on her faith. Where she goes out in a suggestive outfit and hooks up with a couple dudes. It's her at rock bottom, basically, where she's just kind of like, I've lost the job. I can't save this woman. What's the point? And from there, she kind of sees the light again, and she has a very interesting conversation with God, who turns out is real, and Welsh, who knew. Interesting bit of dialogue there where she like hallucinates, or maybe doesn't. And God's like, I'm so proud of you. You have one job left and all will be forgiven, or whatever. And it's kind of fascinating. I love the Welsh language. It's so vibrant and weird. It's like Elvish. But,
yeah, truly.
I wish that had kind of happened. That realization had happened a lot earlier in the film, and then we could start to get the crazy religious-driven serial killer that the preview promised me.
Yeah, that you got for 5 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. The one scene that I wish they hadn't put in the trailer, because it gave me the willies, and it did again in the movie, was when she puts nails in her shoes.
Oh, dude. Ugh.
My God.
And then showing her just walking like a good distance. Oh man, just right now is making me uncomfortable. There's that, and when she's pulling on her arm,
Oh,
it's
like
like,
the pulling on the wound.
oh yeah, oh, stop it.
God. I've never understood this religious desire to hurt yourself in the name of God. I've never understood it. Satanists don't do that shit. You don't even see the Satanists being, all they do is like, don't diddle kids and be your own man. That's the whole Church of Satan motto. It's the God-fearers who do this crazy shit.
For sure. I mean, yeah, you see like on her stomach all the scratch marks, and she's just
Like
she looks like abused.
when she kneels before the altar on the popcorn kernels, like I never even thought of using popcorn as a way to hurt somebody.
But God, it does. That shit is so weird. All those little things. If I do this, God will notice me because I'm trying really hard here. It's just so wild. Such a crazy place to go. And when she literally is like, I've been rejected by God, so now I'm gonna go fuck around at this pub, is like, good Lord, that is so frightening. And it's this individual, this lonely girl who's just like doesn't have a sense of purpose, so this is what she latches onto. That's frightening in itself, just the place that this character is in. Changing her name from Katie to Maud, what the fuck? Yeah. What are you doing?
Because she got someone killed, and I wish we got a little bit more insight into that.
That was freaky. Just the intro.
Yeah,
that was real weird. And I was like, oh God, what are we about to get ourselves into here?
The scene
clearly killed somebody doing CPR. Yeah.
Well, and like when she's fucking the guy and she visualizes the CPR and like breaks his ribs and she freaks out.
Yeah.
There were little bits of a good movie that I would have wanted to see.
Definitely the life of the mind, right? Like you just don't know exactly what she is doing all of this for. Like you don't know exactly how it went down. And for that reason, you're kind of left to wonder, why is she just so stuck in this Roman Catholicism? Like, what's going on?
Well, and whenever she kind of senses God, she doubles over in like severe pain. But it's hinted that she got like, stomach cancer or something.
She says at one point, it's like he's inside of me and I'm pulsating. What the fuck? That's so weird. That is so weird. If you hear someone say that, run. Like run the other way. If you can, like, just the way she words it, obviously it's intentional in the movie, but that, there's some realism to just how Rose Glass decides to build this story up of there are people who get so stuck in, they get so stuck in to where this becomes who they are. And for Maud, it's like she doesn't listen to music. She just talks to God and asks, what can I do next?
Not just that, but I feel like she sees God as like the one man who will never leave her.
Yeah.
Like, because she's so lonely, like it's the one relationship she has that's constant. The way she talks about God, the way she feels, the way she like acts when she thinks God's like rejected her, and what her determination to please him. It really does feel like she believes she's in a personal relationship with God.
In a very weird way. Yeah. I love how her friend that she runs into, what was her name?
Joy, I think.
Yeah, I think that's right. She's just like, what the hell? The hell is going on in here? You should fucking run. If I'm Carol, I'm fucking running. This is when she is whispering to Carol in the kitchen, you need to leave, and Carol's like, what are you going on about? Seriously, that's exactly how I would like. What do you hear yourself? Like, what are you saying?
And I love later, like Carol just goes to Amanda and is like, your nurse is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, that young pale girl over there is just kind of wild.
My God. Um, so she has this realization of like, I need to save this woman. So she puts a bunch of like paint thinner in a bottle and goes to Amanda's house and like tries to like absolve her or something with the paint thinner or the gas or whatever that was. And
Don't know.
Amanda's just like, I'm so sorry I hurt you, instead of being like, why the fuck are you here? Get out. Like,
Yeah.
there's none of that. And then Amanda's like a demon.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely like Maud is this is one of my very favorite aspects of horror. Is like if you believe you're seeing it, that shit's there, you know. So one of my favorite lines in The Exorcist is when the mother and the doctor are talking, and he's like, sometimes we can't see what this person's seeing, and if they see it, it's real to them, and it may not be real to us. And that's like, oh man, that's one of the best things you can break in horror. Is like there's a lot of places you can go with that.
Yeah.
If I see it but you don't, you know, I'm crazy but you're not, and vice versa. You know, that's a mind fuck in its own way. And Maud is clearly in a place where, okay, you are not receiving what I'm giving to you, therefore you're evil, you must die. It's like, holy hell, man. And that face that Amanda makes, is that demon face, was frightening.
Well, and you know, Maud's condition, whatever it may be, that's making her see God, it's probably fucking with her mental state severely. And makes
Look at her dorm. Look at her little dorm. Like,
yeah,
the fuck is going on here? Yeah.
it's crazy. And then she just stabs Amanda in the neck with a little scissors.
Yeah.
Wild. I thought she was gonna light her up.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
She lights herself up though.
Yes. Self-immolation, the best way to talk to God.
Yeah.
Express lane, right there. Man, on the beach.
2 out of 5 stars. Don't recommend. Oh God.
Jesus. I love the sound design in that scene where you can barely hear people going like, oh God, stop her. Somebody stop her. And she's like, it's just honed in on her, like pouring it all on. And then it's like, she's an angel. And then there's that brief visualization of her burning alive.
Yeah.
And where was that movie? It's like somebody took, you know, fucking the Cider House Rules and stitched it together with The Exorcist, but didn't bother to connect anything.
Yeah. That finale is something else. That's a statement for sure. This Maud the whole time was crazy the whole time.
Yeah.
Rose Glass is very, very much saying, no, she had lost it. In real life, she just burnt herself. That's all that happened. It's super scary.
Yeah. And ironically, if she believes all that, she's going straight to hell.
Yeah.
She murdered a cancer patient very brutally.
Yeah, and just was not a good person. I mean, not a nice, caring individual, and pretty judgmental. So,
well, yeah. I don't want to. I have some things I could say, but I won't.
Go ahead.
In my experience, anyway, I've noticed that Christians tend to be judgmental, terrible people.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And honestly, like, I bring up Satanists again. They're pretty fun, nice people in my experience. I find it funny that the book tells you be a good person, love thy neighbor, and every fucking one of them ignores it.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, here's this simple solution, love others, love your creator, love yourself. All right, cool. That's pretty easy. But it gets so convoluted with, we got just the different branches of
Yeah.
of just Christianity. That's
Yeah.
not even bringing in everything else into play. Yeah, I agree with you. That's for sure. That's to me, that's why this movie's funny. It's got an element of humor to it. I thought it was hilarious at times because of the way that Rose Glass sees this stuff is how I see it. And I loved that. I loved that. That was my favorite. Her control and what she was trying to say with this character and with going into something so intensely.
Yeah.
You got to be careful. You got to be paying attention to the things around you. Otherwise, what the hell are you doing? It's okay to go into something, be passionate about something, but like have a little bit of awareness for what's around you. Have a little bit of awareness that other people are going to think differently than you.
It's like, I love, like you brought up Fright Night earlier. It's, I love it and you like it, but not as much as I do. And then I just fucking stabbed you because of that.
Yeah. 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 Exactly. And people just tend to get super angry about that stuff. Oh, what? You don't like this thing? Fuck you. Yeah, I'm gonna. It's crazy. It's fucking tribalism.
It's ridiculous and it's insane. And I cannot believe we're still dealing with this. It's 2021. It's time to stop. Like, we're in the 21st century. We're about to, we're in space. We're gonna colonize Mars in a few decades, but we're still worrying about the fucking devil. Are you kidding me?
Oh man, there's some things that history will never let go.
I know. Here are some Filmgazm facts. There's not a lot of trivia about this movie, but I got two fairly interesting things to say. Number one, despite being a film revolving around religion and Christianity, no passage or verse from the Bible is ever recited. It's almost like Maud is living by her own self-imposed rules.
Another allegory for how a lot of Christians operate off their own will rather than actually reading the Bible and saying, oh, here's very clearly telling me how to live and what to do. I think I'm going to have my own interpretation. Yeah. And that's how you have like millions and millions of different kinds of churches. Some guys like, I can do this. I can teach people about this. I'm going to start a church.
And that's how you end up with 100 and something dead poison people in fucking Jonestown.
Yeah.
And I love that in some of these, self-imposed teachings, fucking Jesus Christ has an AR-15 and an American flag tattoo. It's bonkers to me, man.
Yeah. Isn't that something? Yeah.
Number two, when God speaks to Maud, he is actually voiced by Morfydd Clark, who is speaking Welsh and pitched down a few levels. So it's literally Maud talking to herself.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. That's a good little fun fact to know.
Yeah. And it reminded me so much of The Witch when
Black Phillip
talking to Black Phillip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Similar
Jesus.
tones there.
Uh-huh.
God and the devil. I mean, they are related, so it's not weird that they sound like each other. I give Saint Maud a 6. I thought it was boring, confusing, barely a horror film. I felt A24 blatantly misled audiences, and I don't think it lived up to the 2-year wait.
That's fair. Oh, obviously we are on our opposite ends here. My initial response is to give this movie a 9. I was suckered in right away. I thought the intro was awesome, and it's a movie I'll be thinking about for a while due to the religious aspect of it. I think that is the only thing on the poster that makes sense to me. Is it says it's a religious experience. For me, that was true. But it was not a horrifying horror masterpiece, that's for sure. But as a movie, I really liked it. I really dug it. I'm excited to see what Rose Glass is going to do next. And I think Morfydd Clark is someone to very much be on the lookout for. Fair
enough. It's your interpretation. I'm totally cool with that.
I love it. I love when we have a gap that big in our ratings. That's what makes us different as movie fans.
It does always seem to be you with a 9, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's like me. Yeah, Midsommar. I think I gave Midsommar an 8 or a 9. Faces on Oscar Sunday, I gave a 9. You gave a 5. Yeah, yeah. That's the same shit as that's John Cassavetes very much like I'm doing this my way, this filmmaking thing, and if you're not on board with it, it's just not. I just don't think it's going to be for you, you know. And I'm lucky with that. You have some of your directors that I'm not. I don't think we found one that you love that I don't like, but there's definitely ones that you're really like Zemeckis. You're really into him.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm a fan, but I'm not nearly as knowledgeable as you are.
Fair enough. And to be fair, I have literally been watching Zemeckis since like the fucking day I was born. So,
there you go.
Well, thanks for listening, folks. Always a pleasure. Next week, we are tackling a 90s cult classic that introduced the world to the freakish creatures known as the Graboids. We're traveling to the small town of Perfection, Nevada, where Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward help the townsfolk fight off a horde of vicious underground giant worm-like creatures. All this and more when we discuss 1990's Tremors. Can't wait. It's been a minute since I watched this one. I barely remember it.
Oh, man, that's super exciting. I'm definitely going to be watching it this week so I can listen to that. What a movie. It's one we just simply have to do on the show. One of those.
Yeah, for sure. Be sure to check out What's Eating Gilbert Grape on Oscar Sunday and Marvel's Black Widow on Monday's sneak preview. Interesting.
God damn. That's this week, isn't it? Jesus Christ. Black Widow. Marvel is back in theaters, baby. And look at what they've done. They've adjusted to the times. They decided we're gonna fucking use the shit out of our Disney Plus, this platform we have, and they've put out good content to where every Marvel fan is like, I've been happy the whole time, even through COVID, through quarantining, all that stuff. They kept us. They gave us little snacks, and now Black Widow gets to come out, and I think it's gonna do really well. I'm very excited for that.
Well, what I learned is that the only person on Earth who had a pandemic plan is Kevin Feige.
Yeah.
He knew. He was like, if something happens, this is how we can do it. He said the only thing that's been changed up is that Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character from Falcon and the Winter Soldier was supposed to be introduced in Black Widow. So now it's like an afterthought kind of thing. But that's it. That's the only thing that's been majorly changed in Marvel's grand plan.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Geniuses.
So yeah, talking Marvel in the sneak preview. I can't wait. It's been one of the big things I was looking forward to with that show. So I'm excited to do just an entire fucking Marvel fanboy episode.
Hell yeah, man. That's going to be cool.
Until then, never trust anyone who is constantly talking about how God speaks to them. Odds are they're going to stab you in the neck because they think you're a demon. And keep watching movies while you're at it.